Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian car guy. And I was feeling a little bit down, having to write an article about the shared responsibility payment under Obamacare, aka the Affordable Care Act. So my teeth were hurting and I was not in a good mood until this showed up in my driveway. They took the perfectly acceptable Ford Focus away and they left me this. An AMG S63 Mercedes S-Class sedan, hubba in this cool sort of flat silver paint. Hopefully you'll be able to pick this up in the video. You may have seen this finish on some other cars as well. It's gotten to be kind of popular. At first it looks like they didn't clear coat it, which I guess they kind of didn't, and it leaves the car with sort of this neat, evil, stealthy kind of a look. I personally really like it when it's done in a charcoal or a darker gray, but this silver is pretty slick too. Even slicker though is the AMG 63 itself. How to describe this to you, how to explain it to you? Well, let's start for openers with the fact that it's got almost 150 more horsepower than a current Corvette. It weighs probably close to twice as much as a Corvette. It's certainly almost twice as big as a Corvette, and yet it's quicker to 60 than a Corvette. This sucker will get there in 3.4 seconds versus 3.7 seconds for the Vet, and the Vet can't carry 4 people in massaging chairs, which this car does have. The heart of the monster is a 4-liter twin-turbo V8, which just makes my heart glad and my teeth stop aching. For once, it's not a plug-in hybrid or a turbo V6. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a good old V8 engine huffed on by a pair of turbos, paired up with Benz's 9-speed automatic, particularly beefed up by AMG for some rowdy shift action. They do hook this thing up with the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, which is probably a good thing because with 600 plus horsepower and close to 700 foot-pounds of torque, I think the figure is 663 foot-pounds of torque, this thing would get all kinds of squirrely on people going through just the rear wheels. So the all-wheel drive helps you really hook the thing up a lot better than the rear-wheel drive. And some of you might remember the video that I did a couple of weeks ago when I had the Jeep Trackhawk, which is essentially the same concept in an SUV. They put the gigantic supercharged V8 in a Grand Cherokee, very much like the Hellcat, except all-wheel drive. And the upside to that is that even though the thing is heavier, you can hook it up better than the Hellcat, and that lets you go faster, which is appealing. I'd still like to be able to fry the tires though. That's one downside to the all-wheel drive system. However, Mercedes does let a little wheel slip happen, so you can have some fun if you want to, and regardless, the car is just fun, period. And not only is it fun, it's absolutely gorgeous. I decided to go ahead and do this video as dusk begins to settle to hopefully show you the way the interior is just bathed in beautiful, glowing wonderfulness and opulence. Here, let me kick the thing to life. Note also that it has, of course, the fully digitized dashboard. Oh, and that's my radar detector. So everything now is like this. Let my radar detector boot up. And that's actually kind of cool because you can get a lot more information on these screens than you can with old school analog gauges. This can be toggled through a variety of different displays, and I'll show you some as you click through these various menus. You can change the drive modes, and then you can also on these steering wheel inputs, you can, and this is sort of like an infrared touch, which is kind of neat and unusual. You can watch the boost, you can watch horsepower in real time, you can scroll through it to various other functions, G-forces and the curves, etc., etc. Very swanky, but now have a look at the way the car just kind of glows. It should be a little bit, I wish it were a little bit darker so you could really get the full effect of it, but it's just stunning. If you've ever had the opportunity to fly first class in what I style the Egg, or any other of the first class accommodations in, say, an Airbus or a modern big commercial jet, you'll be familiar with the look. It's very, very similar to that, and I think they probably got some inspiration for it from the big fancy jets that cost like $10,000 for a ticket to go to Europe, and that kind of puts this thing in some perspective and almost makes it seem affordable at $147,000, given that you get more than one trip for your $147,000. So So essentially, you know, you get to drive this thing every day, and it doesn't cost you 10,000 bucks every time you go for a drive. It's not cheap, but when you stop and reflect on the fact that you've got this big, fantastic luxury barge that also happens to be quicker than just about anything else on the road, and if you put it in context, 3.4 seconds to 60, that buries almost all the supercars made up until the last couple of years. And again, this is a 5,000 pound full-size luxury car. It's just absolutely incredible. Anyway, I'm going to have this thing for the next week, and I'll have a review posted up at epautos.com shortly. Also, you can read my my follow-up second installment of my article about the shared responsibility payment that the government is trying to hit people up who haven't bought into paying the insurance mafia their tribute as ordered under Obamacare. I just posted an article about that. I'm one of the refuseniks who refuses to throw away money on health insurance, which I just won't do. Anyway, explanation about that is up on site for those heretically minded among you who might be interested in such a thing. And if you're not interested in the political stuff, hopefully you'll enjoy the car stuff, and we'll catch up with you again soon.